for coming to the College Players Spring 2022 show, The Great Gatsby. We are so very happy to have you all here today. Just a couple of things before we get started. It's important to note that we are seated and performing today on land that originally belonged to and was stolen from the Ramaitush Ohlone people, specifically the Yulamu tribe. The Yulamu tribe have no known living descendants today, so it is a privilege for us to be gathered here today on land whose original owners can no longer even stand. It's also important that you all keep your masks on while you're sitting in the audience. Performers on stage will have their masks off, but we strongly encourage you to wear your masks. There's also no food or drink allowed in studio theater, so there's no need to take off your mask to eat or drink because you're not allowed to. Thank you. We don't foresee any emergency happening, but if it does, the emergency exit is the same door that you came in from, right over here, on your right-hand side for most of you. There are a couple small trigger warnings for this show. There is mention of death, there is gunshots, there is domestic abuse, and then discussion of war. If you need to step out, feel free to, but because this show is only one act that runs about 90 minutes, if you step out, most likely you won't be allowed back in. Last thing, please turn off your cell phones. I know you think that it's probably not a big deal, but the little buzz and the little blue light really catches an actor's attention because you guys are all, we can't see you because of the lights, so when a blue light comes on, we immediately zip to you. So please turn that off. I am Clare Wilson. I had the very unique privilege of directing and adapting this version of Great Gatsby. It was seen today. Thank you, but like in 2 seconds, my job is done. So it's those people backstage that you really should be clapping for. Like I said, this show runs about 90 minutes. It's the story of a couple guys in New York who get into some trouble. If you're familiar with The Great Gatsby, I encourage you to kind of, see if you can learn something new about the story. If you're new to The Great Gatsby, I encourage you to soak in everything you see because everything in here is intentional. Without further ado, thank you for coming to see Fee's The Great Gatsby.
In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like judging anyone, just remember that not all the people in this world have had the same advantages that you've had. He didn't say anything more, but I understood that he meant a great deal more than that. As a result, I'm inclined to reserve judgment, a habit that has opened up many curious natures to me, but also made me the victim of not a few veteran wars. I've also been privy to the secret griefs of wild, unknown men.
It's so good to see you, Nick. I can't believe it's taking this long to arrive.
Traffic.
I'm paralyzed with happiness.
Please excuse Miss Baker. Do they miss me in Chicago?
The entire town is desolate. Every car has left a rear wheel painted black as a morning grief, and there's a persistent wail all night along the North Shore.
How gorgeous. Let's go downtown tomorrow. You want to see the baby?
I'd like to.
She's asleep. She's 3 years old. You've never seen her?
Never.
Well, you want to see her?
What you doing, Nick?
I'm a bond man.
Who with?
Walter Chase.
Never heard of him.
You will. You will if you stay in the East.
Oh, I'll stay in the East, all right. I'd be a fool to live anywhere else.
Absolutely.
I'm stiff. I've been lying on that sofa for as long as I can remember.
Don't look at me. I've been trying to get you to New York all afternoon.
No thanks. thanks. I'm absolutely in training.
You are? How you ever get anything done is beyond me.
You live in West Egg. I know somebody there.
I don't know a single
You must know Gatsby.
Gatsby. What Gatsby?
Dinner!
In 2 weeks will be the longest day of the year. Do you always watch for the longest day of the year like this? I always watch for the longest day of the year like this.
We should plan something.
All right, what do we plan? What do people plan?
Well,
Look, I heard it. You did it, Tom. I know you didn't mean to, but you did do it. That's what I get for marrying a rook of a man. A great, big, hulking, physical
I
specimen.
hate that word hulking, even in kidding.
Hulking. Voluminous. Monumental. Elephantine. Mesomorphic.
you make me feel uneducated, uncivilized, Daisy. Can't you talk about crops or something?
Civilization is going to pieces. I've gotten to be a real pessimist about these things. Have you read that new book by Carlin?
Why, no.
Well, it's a fine book, and everybody ought to read it. The idea is, if we don't look out, men will be utterly submerged. It's all very scientific stuff. It's been proven.
Tom's getting very profound. He reads deep books with long words in them.
Yes, these books are all very scientific. This fellow Carlin has got it all worked out. It's up to us, who are the dominant sex, to watch out, or women will have control of things.
Gotta stay in our place.
You ought to move to California.
The idea is that we're alphas. We've produced all the things that make society go. Science and art
And inequality and inequity
and all of that. Do you see?
Do you want to hear a family secret? It's about the butler.
That's why I came today.
Well, he wasn't always a butler. He used to be the silver polisher for some people in New York who had a silver service for over 200 people. Well, he would polish from morning till night until finally it began to affect his nose.
Things went from bad to worse.
Yes, things went from bad to worse until finally he had to give up his position. I love to see you at my table, Nick. You remind me of a rose. An absolute rose. Doesn't he? An absolute rose.
Is this Mr. Gatsby you spoke of as my name?
Shh! Don't talk. I want to hear what happens.
Is something happening?
You mean you don't know? I thought everybody knew.
I don't.
Why, Tom's got some woman in New York.
Got some woman?
She might have the decency not to call him at dinner time, though, don't you think?
So, your daughter's well?
We don't know each other very well, Nick, even if we are cousins. You didn't come to my wedding.
I wasn't back from the war.
That's true. Well, I've had a very hard time, Nick, and I've become pretty cynical about everything.
So I suppose she talks and eats and everything?
Yeah. Listen, let me tell you what I said when she was born. Would you like to hear?
Absolutely.
When the nurse told me it was a girl, I turned away and I wept. All right, I said, I'm glad it's a girl, and I hope she'll be a fool. It's the best thing a girl could be in this world, a beautiful little fool. I think everything's terrible anyhow. Everybody thinks so, the most sophisticated people. And I should know, I've been everywhere and done everything and seen everything. Sophisticated, God, I'm sophisticated.
10 o'clock. Time for this girl to get to bed.
Jordan's going to play in the tournament tomorrow over at Westchester.
Oh, you're Jordan Baker.
Good night. Wake me at 8, won't you?
If you'll get up.
I will. Good night, Mr. Carraway. See you soon.
Of course you will. In fact, I think I'll arrange a marriage. Come over often, Nick, and I'll sort of fling you two together. Oh, lock you in linen closets and push you out to
Good
sea.
night. I can hear you.
She's a nice girl.
She from New York?
From Louisville. Our dainty girlhood was passed together there. Our dainty, threatening...
Did you give Nick a little heart-to-heart?
Did I? I can't seem to remember. But I think we talked about how men own the world and must be careful not to lose it. Yes, I'm sure
Don't
we did.
believe everything you hear, Nick.
I haven't heard a single thing.
Someone can sit down.
Oh, sure, honey, yeah. I want to see you. Go on the next train.
All right.
I'll meet you by the newsstand on the lower level.
And we get a dog for the apartment? Oh, the dog. You'll take the leash?
Well, I'll have to leave you here. No, Myrtle will be hurt if you don't come to the apartment, won't you, Myrtle?
Please. I'll invite my sister Catherine. She said it'd be very beautiful if people who ought to know. I'll invite the McKees too.
Doesn't her husband object to Wilson? He thinks she goes to see her sister in New York. He's too dumb to know he's alive. If you know what I mean. I'm sure if Chester could find you a certain pose, I think he could make something of you.
I should change the light. I'd like to bring out your features, and I try to get hold of all the details in the back.
I don't think it's the light. I think it's... Why don't you McKees get something to drink? Myrtle, we'll get us some sparkling water and ice, please.
Oh, I told that boy about the ice. These people, we have to keep acting all the time. I'll be right back. A dozen chefs need 2 dozen orders.
Do you live down on Long Island too?
I live in West Egg.
Really? Well, I was down there for a party about a month ago. At a man named Gatsby's. Do you know him?
I live right next door to him.
Well, they say he's a nephew or a cousin of the Kaiser. That's where all his money comes from.
Really?
I'm afraid of him. I'd hate to have him get anything on me.
Chester, I think you could make something of her.
I'd like to do more work on Long Island, if only I could get the entry. All I'd ask is that they give me a start.
Well, Myrtle will give you a letter of introduction. Won't you, Myrtle?
Do what?
You'll give Mr. McKee here a letter of introduction to your husband, so we can do some studies of it. George B. Wilson at the gasoline pump, something like that.
Neither of them can stand the person they're married to. What I say is, why go on living with them if they can't stand them?
Doesn't she?
If I were them, I'd get a divorce and get married to each other right away.
Well, doesn't she like Wilson?
Wilson's a miserable little rat.
You see? It's really Tom's wife that's keeping them apart. She's a Catholic. They don't really believe in divorce. When they do get married, they're going west to live for a while until it blows over.
Be more discreet to go to Europe.
You know, I almost made a mistake like that. There was this young cad who had been after me for years, and everyone kept on saying, "Lucille, he's below you." And he was below me. But if I hadn't have met Chester, I probably would have ended up with him.
Yes, but at least you didn't marry.
I know I didn't.
Yeah, well, I did. And that's in your case and mine.
Why did you, Myrtle? Nobody forced you to.
I married him because I thought he was a gentleman. I thought he knew something about breeding. But he wasn't fit to lick my shoe.
You were crazy about him for a while.
Crazy about him? Who said I was crazy about him? The only crazy I was never any more crazy about him than I was about that man there. The only crazy I was when I married him. I knew right away it was a mistake. He had borrowed some of his best suit to get married in and never even told me about it. And the man comes after it one day. "Oh, is this your suit?" I said. First I've ever heard about it. But I gave it to the man, and I lay down and cried weak then all afternoon.
She really should get away from him. They've been living above that garage for 11 years. And Tom's the first sweetie she ever had.
We're in need of supper. There are some sandwiches.
Has Tom told you how I met?
No.
It was on the two seats facing each other. That are always the last ones left on the train. I was going up to New York to see my sister and spend the night. He had on a dress suit and leather shoes, and I couldn't keep my eyes off him. But every time he'd look at me, I'd pretend to be looking at the advertisement over his head. When I came into the station, he was next to me. His white shirt front pressed against my arm, so I told him I'd have to call a policeman. But he knew I lied. I was so excited that when I got into a taxi, I didn't hardly know I wasn't getting into a subway train. I kept telling myself over and over again, "You can't live forever. You can't live forever." My dear, I'm gonna have to give you this dress when I'm through with it. I've got to make a list of things that I've got to get tomorrow. A new dress, a massage and a wave, a collar for the dog, one of those cute little ashtrays, and a wreath with a black silk bow that lasts all summer from Mother's grave. I've got to make a list of all the things I've got to do.
There's something funny about a fellow that'll do a thing like that. He doesn't want any trouble with anybody.
Who doesn't?
Gatsby. Somebody told me they thought.
I don't think it's so much that. It's more that he was a German spy during the war.
I heard that from a man who knew all about him, grew up with him in Germany.
Oh no, it couldn't be that, because he was in the American army during the war. You look at him sometimes when he thinks nobody's looking at him. I bet he killed him. Let's get out. This is much too polite for me. Let's find the host.
I have ascertained they're real.
The books?
Absolutely real. Have pages and everything. I thought they'd be a nice, durable cardboard. Matter of fact, they're absolutely real. See? Pages and here. Let me show you. See? It's a bona fide piece of printed matter. It fooled me. Bella's a regular Velasco. It's a triumph. Such thoroughness. Such realism. Knew when to stop too. Didn't cut the pages, but what do you want? What do you expect? Who brought you? Or did you just come? I was brought. Most people were brought. I was brought by a woman named Roosevelt, Mrs. Claude Roosevelt. Do you know her? I met her somewhere last night. I've been drunk for about a week now, and I thought it might sober me up to sit in the library.
Has it?
A little bit, I think. I can't tell yet. I've only been here an hour. Did I tell you about the books? They're real.
You told us.
They're...
Your face is familiar. Weren't you in the 3rd Division during the war?
Oh yes, I was in the 9th Machine Gun Battalion.
I was in the 7th Infantry till June 1918. I knew I'd seen you somewhere. You enjoyed France while you were there?
I did, as much as a man can enjoy anything under such circumstances. Though it was full of some awfully wet and gray little villages.
You're not wrong about that. Say, I just bought a hydroplane. I'm going to try it out in the morning tomorrow. Want to go with me, old sport? Just near the shore or on the sound.
What time?
Anytime to suit you best.
Having a good time now?
Much better. This party is awfully unusual for me. I haven't even seen the host. I live over there, this man named Gatsby sent over his chauffeur with an invitation.
Well, I'm Gatsby.
What? Oh, I beg your pardon.
I thought you knew, old sport. I'm afraid I'm not a very good host.
Chicago is calling, sir.
Thank you. If you want anything, just ask for it. Excuse me, I'll join you later.
Who is he? Do you know?
He's just a man named Gatsby.
I mean, where is he from? What does he do?
Now you're started on the subject. Well, he told me once he was an Oxford man. However, I don't believe it.
Why not?
I don't know. I just don't think he went there. Anyhow, he gives large parties, and I like large parties. They're so intimate. Small parties, there's never any privacy.
I beg your pardon. Miss Baker, I beg your pardon, but Mr. Gatsby would like to speak to you alone.
Me?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the request of Mr. Gatsby, we are going to play for you Mr. Vladimir Tolstoy's latest work, which attracted a lot of attention at Carnegie Hall last May. If you read the papers, you know there was a big sensation. Sensational. The piece is known as Mr. Vladimir Tolstoy's Purple Rain.
I never wanted to come.
I just heard the most amazing thing. How long were we in there?
Why, about an hour.
It was simply amazing. But I swore I wouldn't tell it, and here I am, just tantalizing you with the information. I do apologize. Oh, please, do have a seat. In the phone book, I'm the name of Mrs. Gurney Howard. It's my aunt.
Come, have a seat. Come again, all right?
Thanks, sir, for your dress.
Thank you so much.
On
mention it. Don't give it another thought, old sport. Don't forget, we're going up into the hydroplane tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
Philadelphia wants you on the phone, sir.
Alright. Tell them I'll be right back. So, if you want anything, just don't even think about it, okay? Otherwise, good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, old sport.
Based off of these events, it may seem that 3 nights several weeks apart were all that absorbed me. On the contrary, they were merely casual events in a crowded summer, and, until much later, they absorbed me infinitely less than my own personal affairs. Most of the time I worked. For a while I lost sight of Georgie Baker, and then in midsummer I found her again. At first I was flattered to go places with her because she was a golf champion and everyone knew her name. Then it became something more. I wasn't actually in love, but I felt a sort of tender curiosity. Once we had a curious conversation about driving a car that came about because she passed so close to some workmen that her fender flicked a button on one man's coat. You're a rotten driver. Either you ought to be more careful or you oughtn't drive at all.
I'm careful.
No, you're not.
Well, other people are.
What's that got to do with it?
They'll stay out of my way. It takes 2 to cause an accident.
Suppose you met someone just as careless as yourself.
I hope I never will. I hate careless people. That's why I like you.
For a moment, I thought that I loved her. But I am slow thinking and full of interior rules that act as brakes on my desires. Nonetheless, there was an understanding that had to be tactfully broken off before I was free. Everyone suspects himself of at least one of the cardinal virtues, and this is mine. I am one of the few honest people that I have ever known.
Morning, old sport. You having lunch with me today, and I thought we'd ride up together. Look here, old sport. What's your opinion of me, anyhow?
Well, I don't know you nearly as well as...
I'm going to tell you something about my life. I want you to get a wrong idea of me from all these stories over here. I'll tell you God's truth. I am the son of some wealthy people in the Middle West. I'm dead now. I was brought up in America, but educated at Oxford, because all my ancestors have been educated there for many years. It's a family tradition.
What part of the Middle West?
San Francisco.
I see.
Yeah. My family all died and came into a good deal of money. And after that, I lived like a young prince in all the capitals of Europe. Paris, Venice, Rome, collecting jewels, chiefly rubies, hunting big game, painting little. Thinking to myself only, I'm trying to forget something very sad that happened to me long ago. But then came the war, old sport, and it was a great relief. I tried very hard to die, but I seemed to bear an enchanted life. I accepted a commission as first lieutenant when it began. In the Arden forest, I took 2 machine gun detachments so far forward that there was a half-mile gap on either side of us with the infantry Buchanan advance. We stayed there 2 days and 2 nights, 130 men with 16 Lewis guns. And when the infantry came up, at last they found the insignia of 3 German divisions among the piles of the dead. I was promoted to be a major, and every Allied government gave me a decoration. Even Montenegro, little Montenegro down the Adriatic Sea. That's the one for Montenegro.
Orderi di Danilo, Montenegro, Nicholas Rex.
Turner.
Major J. Gatsby for valor extraordinary.
Here's another thing I always carry. A souvenir of Oxford days. It was taken in Trinity Quad. The man on my left is now the Earl of Doncaster. I'm going to make a big request of you today. So I thought you ought to know something about me. I don't want you to think I was just some nobody. You see, I usually find myself among strangers because I drift here and there trying to forget the sad thing that happened to me. You hear about it this afternoon?
At lunch?
No, this afternoon. I happened to find out you're taking Miss Baker to tea.
Do you mean you're in love with Miss Baker?
No, sport, I'm not. But Miss Baker has kindly consented to speak to you about this matter.
Eyeballs. This is a nice restaurant, but I like across the street.
Yes, I was. It's too hot over there.
Hot and small, yes, but full of memories.
What place would that be?
The old Metropole.
The old metropole, filled with faces dead and gone, filled with friends gone now and forever. I understand you're looking for a business connection.
Oh, no. This isn't a man.
No?
This is just a friend. I told you we'd talk about that some other time.
I beg your pardon, I had the wrong man.
I don't like mysteries. Why can't you come out frankly and tell me what it is that you want? Why has it all got to come through Miss Baker?
Look, old sport, it's nothing underhand. Miss Baker's a great sportswoman, you know. She never did anything that wasn't all right.
He has to telephone. Fine fellow, isn't he? He has him to look at and a perfect gentleman.
Yes. Have you known Gatsby a while?
Several years, but I made his acquaintance just after the war. I knew I discovered a fine fellow after I talked with him an hour. I said to myself, there's the kind of man you'd like to take home to your mother and sister. Gatsby's very careful about me. He would not much so as look at a woman's wife. I have enjoyed my lunch and I'm going to run off me too before I outstay my welcome.
Don't hurry, Dev.
You're very polite, but I belong to a different generation. You two sit here and discuss your ladies and your sports and your... As for me, I want to boast myself any longer.
He gets very sentimental sometimes, and this is one of his sentimental days. He's got a character on New York, a denizen of Broadway.
What is he, an actor?
Big Wolf? No, he's a gambler. He's the man who fixed the World Series back in 1919.
How did he go about doing that?
He just saw the opportunity.
Why isn't he in jail?
I can't get him elsewhere. He's a smart man.
Come along with me a moment. There's someone I'd like to say hello to.
Where have you been? Daisy and Curious were called up.
Mr. Gatsby, Mr. Buchanan.
How have you been anyhow? How'd you have to come up this far to eat lunch?
I've been having lunch with Mr. Gatsby.
Well, you really ought to come by. Daisy is furious with you.
One October day in 1917, I noticed Daisy's white roadster was parked beside the curb, and she was sitting in it with a lieutenant I had never seen before. They were so engrossed in each other, and the officer looked at Daisy while she was speaking in a way that every young girl wants to be looked at sometime. Because it seemed romantic to me, I have remembered the incident ever since. That was 1917. She had a debut after the armistice, and in June, she married Tom Buchanan of Chicago. More pomp and circumstance than Louisville ever knew before. The day before the wedding, he gave her a string of pearls that was valued at $350,000. I was a bridesmaid. I came into her room half an hour before the bridal dinner and found her lying on her bed, as lowly as the June night in her flowered dress, and as drunk as a monkey. She had a bottle of Sauterne in one hand and a letter in the other, and she groped around the wastebasket she had with her on the bed and pulled out the string of pearls. Take them downstairs and give them back to wherever they belong to. Tell them all, Daisy's changed her mind. Say Daisy's changed her mind. She began to cry. She cried and cried. She wouldn't let go of the letter. Half an hour later, when we walked out of the room, the pearls were around her neck, and the incident was over. Next day at 5 o'clock, she married Tom Buchanan without so much as a shiver. A week after I left Santa Barbara, Tom ran into a wagon on the Ventura Road one night, ripped a front wheel off his car, and the girl who was with him got in the image too, because her arm was broken. She was one of the chambermaids in the Santa Barbara hotel. Well, about 6 weeks ago, Daisy heard the name of Gatsby for the first time in years. It was when I asked you, do you remember if you knew Gatsby in West End? After you got home, she came into my room and woke me up and said, "My Gatsby." And I described him to her. I was half asleep, and she said in the strangest voice that it must be the man she used to know. It wasn't until then that I connected this Gatsby with the officer in her white car.
It was a strange coincidence.
But it wasn't a coincidence at all.
Why not?
Gatsby bought that house so that Daisy would be just across the bay. He wants to know if you'll invite her over to your house some afternoon and then let him come over.
Did I really have to know all this before he asked such a little thing?
He's afraid. He's waited so long. He thought you might be offended. You see, he's a regular tough underneath it all.
Why didn't he ask you to arrange a meeting?
He wants Daisy to see his house, and your house is right next door.
Oh.
I think he half expected her to wander into one of his parties to meet me, but she never did. Then he began asking people casually if they knew her, and I was the first one he found. It was that night at his dance, and you should have heard the elaborate way he worked up to it. Of course, I immediately suggested a luncheon in New York, and I thought he'd go mad. I don't want you anything out of the way, he kept saying. I want to see her right next door. When I mentioned you were a particular friend of Tom's, he started to abandon the whole idea. He doesn't know very much about Tom, though he says he's read a Chicago paper for years, just on the chance of catching a glimpse at Daisy's name. And Daisy ought to have something in her life.
Does she want to see Gatsby?
She's not to know about it. Gatsby doesn't want her to know. You're just supposed to invite her to tea.
Morning, sir. Mr. Gatsby sent me over to cut your grass.
Oh, very well. Thank you.
I have flowers for Mr. Gatsby.
Everything all right?
The grass is fine if that's what you're asking.
What grass? Oh, grass in the yard. Looks very good. One of the papers said they thought the rain would stop at about 4. I think it was the journal. Have you got everything you need in the shape of tea?
Will these do?
Of course! Of course. Fine. Oxford. I'm going home.
Why not?
Nobody's coming to tea. It's too late. I can't wait all day.
Don't be silly. It's just 2 minutes till 4.
Is this absolutely where you live, my dearest one?
Yes, my dear. Come on in.
Are you in love with me, or why did I have to come alone?
That's the secret of Castle Carraway. Tell your chauffeur to go far away and spend an hour.
Come back in an hour, Ferdy. His name's Ferdy.
Does the gasoline affect his nose?
I don't think so. Why?
Well, that's funny. What's funny?
I certainly am awfully glad to see you again.
We've met. We've met before. Sorry about the frame.
It's an old frame.
We haven't met for many years.
5 years. Next November.
We ought to have some tea. You'll help me make some? So, lovely weather we're having. It's a little hot, so be careful. Careful. I'll be right back.
Where are you going? You gotta speak to me about something before you go. Oh, God.
What's the matter?
This is a terrible mistake. A terrible, terrible mistake.
You're just embarrassed, that's all. Daisy's embarrassed too.
She's embarrassed?
Just as much as you are.
Talk so loud.
You're acting like a little boy. Not only that, but you're rude. Daisy's sitting in there all alone.
Daisy, did you? Hello, folks.
It stopped raining.
Oh, has it? What do you think of that? Stop raining.
I'm glad, Jay.
I want you and Daisy to come to my house. I'd like to show her around.
Are you sure you want me to come?
Absolutely, old sport. The house looks well, doesn't it? See how the front of it catches the light?
Yes, it's splendid.
Yes, only took me 3 years to earn the money that bought it.
I thought that you inherited the money.
I did, but I lost most of it in the big panic of the war.
What business were you in?
It's my affair. I've been in several things. I was in the club business, and then I was in the oil business. But I'm not in either one now. You've maybe been considering one of those the other night.
That's yours, that huge place there?
Do you like it?
I love it, but I don't see how you live there all alone.
Keep it always full of interesting people, night and day. People who do interesting things. Celebrated people. the mist, you can see your home from across the bay. You always have this green light that burns all night at the end of your dock.
Who's this?
All that? Oh, that's Mr. Dan Codio's sport. He's dead now, but he used to be my best friend years ago.
I adore it. The pompadour. You never told me you had a pompadour. Or a yacht.
Look at this. Here's a lot of clippings about you. Oh, yes? I can't talk now. I can't talk now, old sport. I said a small town. He must know what a small town is. Well, he's no use to us. If Detroit is his idea of a small town.
I'll be heading home now.
No, absolutely not. I know what we'll do. You in? Klipspringer, you plays the piano. Don't you in no sport?
Oh, well, I don't play well. I hardly play at all, and I'm all out of practice.
We'll go downstairs.
I told you, I'm all out of practice. I really told you I couldn't.
Don't talk so much, old sport. Play. Many people you've heard about.
We don't go out much. In fact, I was just thinking, I don't know a single soul here.
Perhaps you know that fellow.
He's lovely.
The man bending over him is his director. Excuse me. Mrs. Buchanan and Mr. Buchanan, the polo player.
Oh no, not me.
And Mrs. Buchanan and Mr. Buchanan, the polo player? Mrs. Buchanan and Mr. Buchanan, the polo player.
I've never met so many celebrities. I like that one man. What was his name with the sort of blue nose?
Oh, Louis Spice. He's just a small producer.
I liked him anyhow.
You know, I'd rather not go by the polo player. Or look at all these famous people in oblivion. Do you mind if I go talk to this fellow over here? Looks real funny.
Go ahead. I'll be right here.
I like them. I think they're lovely. I didn't hear it, I imagined it. All these newly rich people are just big bootleggers, you know.
Not Gatsby.
Well, he certainly must have strained himself to get this menagerie together.
At least they're more interesting than the people we know.
You didn't look so interested.
Well, I was.
Well, I'd like to know who this man is and what he does. I'll make a point of finding out.
I can tell you right now, he owns some drugstores, a lot of drugstores, and he built them all himself. Good night, Jason.
Thanks so much for coming. Get safe, all right? Take care. Take care. Thanks for coming. Take care. Oh, you drank too much. Best part is that, all right? Enjoying this. Love it. You could She didn't like it. She didn't like it. She didn't have a good time. I feel far away from her. It's hard to make her understand.
Is this about the dance?
The dance? Oh, so the dance is unimportant. I'd like nothing more than that. Daisy shall go to Tom and tell him, I never loved you. And after that, after she's free, we will go back to Lowell and be married from the house. She doesn't understand. She used to be able to understand it. We would sit for hours.
I wouldn't ask too much of her. You can't repeat the past.
Can't repeat the past? Well, of course you can. I'm going to fix everything just the way it was before. She'll see. One autumn night, 5 years ago. We were walking down the street as the leaves were falling. We came to a place where there were no trees and the sidewalk was white in moonlight. We stopped and turned to each other. There was nothing but us. The humming of the streetlight and the mysterious excitement that comes with a cold night. My heart beat faster and faster as I drew closer to Daisy. I waited, knowing that once I kissed her, I would never be the same. And then I did. On my lips' touch, she blossomed like a flower and the incarnation was complete. Hello, Sport.
Gatsby, leaving soon?
No.
I hear you fired all your servants.
One is somebody who wouldn't gossip. Daisy comes over quite often in the afternoons. There's some people Wolf wanted to do something for. They're our brothers and sisters. They used to run a small hotel.
I see.
Anyways, I'm calling on Daisy's behalf. She wants to know if you would come to lunch at our house tomorrow. Miss Baker will be there.
I'll think about it. Anything else?
Nothing at all. Take care, Sport.
Gatsby?
No, Gatsby. Daisy, how are you, cousin?
I'm well, Daisy. And you?
Splendid, though I'd be even better if you'd come to lunch at my house tomorrow.
Gatsby told me about lunch. I'll be there.
Thank goodness. I'll see you then. Goodbye, Nick.
Goodbye, Daisy.
We can't move.
And Mr. Thomas Buchanan?
Absolutely not.
The rumor is that that's Tom's girl on the telephone.
Very well then, I won't play the car at all. And under no obligation to you at all. And after you calling me up and bothering me about it, it's summertime, I won't stand for that at all.
Holding down the receiver.
He's not. It's a bona fide deal. I happen to know about it.
Mr. Gatsby, it's good to see you, sir.
Make us a cold drink? You know I love you.
You forget there's a lady present.
You kiss Nick too.
What a low, vulgar girl.
I don't care.
They certainly look cool.
You know, I read somewhere the sun is getting hotter every year. It seems pretty soon the Earth's gonna fall right into the sun. Oh wait, no, it's just the opposite. The sun's getting colder every year. You know, I'm right across from him.
So you are.
There's sport for you. I'd like to be out there with him on that boat for about an hour.
What do we do with ourselves this afternoon? And the day after that? And the next 30 years?
Don't be morbid. Life starts all over again when it gets crisp in the fall.
But it's so hot and everything's so confused. Why don't we go to town?
You know, I've heard of a man making a garage out of a stable, but I'm the first man who's ever made a stable out of a garage.
Why don't we go to town? Who wants to go to town? You look so cool. You always look so cool. You resemble the advertisement of the man. You know, the advertisement of the man.
All right. I'm perfectly willing to go to town. Come on, let's go to town. If we're going, let's start.
We're just gonna go like this? We're not gonna let anyone smoke a cigarette first?
Everyone smoked all through lunch.
It's too hot to fuss. Have it your way. Come on, Jordan.
Have you got your stables here?
About a quarter of a mile down the road. You know, I don't see the idea of going to town. Women with these notions in their heads.
Shall we take anything to drink?
I'll get the whiskey.
I can't see anything in his household store.
She's got a very indiscreet voice. It's full of...
Her voice is full of money. Shall we all go in my car?
How about you take a coupe? Let me drive your car to town.
I don't think there's much gas.
Oh, plenty of gas. Besides, we run out. You can stop at a drugstore and buy more. You can buy anything in a drugstore nowadays. Come on, Daisy. I'll take you in this circus wagon.
You take Nick and Jordan. We'll follow you in the coupe.
Did you see that?
See what?
You must think I'm pretty dumb, don't you? Well, perhaps I am, but I have a second sight about these things that tells me what to do, and science. Well, I've made a small investigation into this fellow,
And you found he was an Oxford man.
An Oxford man? Like hell he is. He's wearing a red suit.
Nevertheless, he's an Oxford man.
Oxford, New Mexico, or something like that.
Listen, Tom, if you're such a snob, why did you invite him to lunch?
Daisy invited him. Apparently she knew him from before we were married. God knows where. matter with you?
Sick. Been sick all day.
What's the matter?
I'm all run down.
Well, you sounded well enough on the phone. Should I help myself?
I didn't mean to interrupt your lunch, but I need money pretty bad, and I was wondering what you were going to do with the whole car.
I'd like to look at this one. It's a new yellow one. Just got it.
It's a nice yellow one.
Would you like to buy it?
Big chance. No, but I could make some money on the other.
What do you need money for all of a sudden?
I've been here too long. I want to get away. My wife and I. My wife and I want to get away.
Your wife does.
Well, she's been talking about it for 10 years, and now she's going, whether she wants to or not. I'm going to get her away.
What do I owe you?
You know, I just got wised up to something funny the last few days. That's why I want to get away. That's why I've been bothering you about the car.
What do I owe you?
$1.20?
I'll get back to you about the car. I'll have someone send it over tomorrow afternoon.
Well, sweet. Open another window. There aren't any more. Well, we better telephone for an axe.
The thing to do is to forget about the heat and make it 10 times worse by crabbing about it.
Why not let her alone, O sport? You're the one that wanted to come to town.
That's a funny expression of yours, isn't it?
What is?
All this old sport business. Where'd you pick that up?
Now see here, Tom, if you're going to make personal remarks, I won't stay here a minute. Call up and order some ice from the tulips.
Imagine marrying anybody in this heat.
Still, I was married in the middle of June. Louisville in June. Somebody fainted. Who fainted, Tom?
Alexi. Mr. Gatsby, I understand you're an Oxford man.
Not exactly.
Oh, yes. I understand you went to Oxford.
Yes, I went there.
I'd like to know when.
It was in 1919. I only stayed 5 months. That's why I can't really call myself an Oxford man. It was an opportunity they gave some of the officers. After the armistice, we could go to any of the universities in England or France.
Open the whiskey, Tom, and I'll make you a mint julep. Then you won't seem so stupid to yourself. Look at the mint.
Wait a minute. I want to ask Mr. Gatsby one more question.
Go on.
What kind of a row are you trying to cause in my house anyhow?
He isn't causing a row. You're causing a row. Try to have a little self-control.
Self-control? So I suppose the latest thing to do is let Mr. Nobody from nowhere make love to your wife. Well, if that's the idea, you can count me out of it. Nowadays, we start by dismissing family life and family institutions, and the next you throw everything overboard.
Tom, please.
Look, I know. I'm not very popular. I don't throw big parties. I suppose you gotta make your house into a pigsty in order to have any friends in the modern world.
Well, I've got something to tell you, O sport.
Oh, dude,
Don't, please don't. Let's just go home.
She's right. Come on, Tom. No one wants a drink.
No, I want to know what Mr. Gatsby has to tell me.
Your wife doesn't love you. She never loved you. She loves me.
Nonsense.
She doesn't love you. Do you hear? She only married you because I was poor and she was tired of waiting. It was a terrible mistake, but in that time, she never loved anyone except me.
Sit down. Daisy, what's been going on? I want to hear all about it.
I told you it was been going on. Been going on for 5 years, and you didn't know.
You've been seeing this fellow for 5 years?
Not seeing. We couldn't meet. But we loved each other all that time, sport, and you didn't know. I used to laugh sometimes to think that you didn't know.
Oh, that's all. You're crazy. I can't speak about what happened 5 years ago, because I didn't know Daisy then. But But I'll be damned if I understand how you got in within a mile of her without bringing the groceries to her back door. But the rest of that is a goddamn lie. Daisy loved me when she married me, and she loves me now.
No.
The thing is, she does though. Sometimes she gets these ideas in her head and she gets confused. And what's more, I love Daisy too. Sure, I go off on a spree here and there and make a fool of myself, but I always come back. And what's more, I love Daisy in my heart all the while.
You're revolting. Do you know I'm surprised they didn't treat you to the story of that little spree.
Daisy, look, okay, that's all over now. It doesn't matter anymore. Just tell him the truth. That you never loved him. And it's all wiped out forever.
Why, how could I possibly love him?
You never loved him.
I never loved him.
Not at Capiolani?
No.
Not when I carried you down from the punch bowl to keep your shoes dry? Daisy!
Please don't. There, Jay. Oh, you want too much. I love you now, isn't that enough? I did love him once, but I loved you too.
You loved me too?
Even that's a lie. She didn't know you were alive. There are things between Daisy and I that you will never understand. Things that neither of us will ever forget.
I want to speak to Daisy alone.
Oh, please.
She's all excited now.
Even alone, I can't say that I never loved Tom. It wouldn't be true.
Of course it wouldn't.
As if it mattered to you.
Of course it matters to me. I'm going to take better care of you from now on.
You don't understand. You're not going to take care of her anymore.
And why's that?
She's leaving you.
No, she is not.
I am, though.
Daisy's not leaving. Certainly not for some common swindler. Who has to steal the ring you put on her finger.
Please, Tom, I won't stand this. Let's get out.
No, you know what? Who are you? You're one of the bunch that hangs around Dave Wolf. That much I happen to know. You know, I made a small investigation into his affairs, and I'll take it further tomorrow.
You can sue yourself about that in sport.
You know, I found out what his little drugstores were. He and this Wolf bought a bunch of side street little drugstores here and in Chicago and sold grain alcohol over the counter. You know, I picked you for a bootlegger the first second I saw you, and I wasn't far wrong.
And what about it? I guess your friend Walter Chase wasn't too proud to come in on it.
And you left him in the fucking lurch, didn't you? You let him rot in jail for a month in New Jersey. You ought to hear Walter on the subject of you.
He came to us dead broke. He was very glad to pick up some money on sport.
Don't you old sport me. You know, Walter could have you up on the betting laws, too, if it weren't for Wolf scaring him into shutting his mouth. And you know, this drugstore business is just small change compared to what you've got going on now. Something that even Walter is afraid to tell me about.
Please, Tom, I won't stand this.
No. You know what, Daisy? You go on home. In Mr. Gatsby's car. Go on. He won't annoy you. I think he realizes that his presumptuous little flirtation is over. Want any of this stuff? Nick? Jordan? Nick?
What? No. I just remember that today's my birthday. 30. The menacing road of a new decade.
Well, happy fucking birthday.
Can't. I'll miss out on a lot of business if I do.
George! George!
I've got my wife locked up in there. She's going to stay there until the day after tomorrow, and then we're going to move away.
George? Is everything all right? George, did something happen? George, is everything okay?
Where were you last Monday? 3 o'clock.
What?
Monday, 3 o'clock. Or the Friday before that at 5?
Nothing special.
I really don't remember, George.
Well, you ought to remember soon.
Beat me! Throw me down and beat me, you dirty little coward! No! Jesus.
Just stopped. No, I feel like we get that name.
Let's get out. You goddamn coward. He even stopped his car. Dropped you in West End. There's nothing that can be done tonight. I'll call you up a taxi, and while you wait, you should both come inside and have some dinner if you want to.
No thanks. But I'd be glad if you call me up that taxi. I'll wait outside.
Won't you come in, Nick?
No thanks.
It's only 9:30.
No, Jordan.
Nick! Oh, smart! Nick!
What are you doing?
Just standing here. Did you see any trouble on the road?
Yes.
Was she killed?
Yes.
I thought so. I told Daisy I thought so. It's better that the shot should come at once. She stood it pretty well. I got to West Egg by a side road and left the car in my garage. I don't think anybody saw us, but of course I can't be sure. Who was the woman?
Her name was Wilson. Her husband owns the garage. How the devil did it happen?
Well, I tried to grab the wheel.
Daisy was driving?
Yes, but of course I'll say I was. You see, when we left for New York, she was very nervous, and she thought it was letting her to drive. And this woman rushed out at us, just as the car were passing the other way. It all happened in a minute. But it seemed to me that she wanted to speak to us. Thought we were somebody she knew. Well, first, Daisy turned away from the woman and towards the other car and lost her nerve and turned back. The second my hand reached the wheel, I felt the shock. It must have killed her instantly.
It ripped her open.
Oh, don't tell me. Anyhow, Daisy stepped on it. I tried to make her stop, but she couldn't. So I put on the emergency brake and I drove on. She'll be all right tomorrow. I'm just going to wait here and see if he tries to bother her about that unpleasantness this afternoon. And if he tries any brutality, she'll turn the lights off and on again.
He won't touch her. He's not thinking about her.
I don't trust them, old sport.
How long are you going to wait?
All night, if necessary. Anyhow, till I'll go to bed.
You wait here. I'll see if there's any sign of commotion.
Is it all quiet up there?
Yeah, it's all quiet. You should go home and get some sleep.
I want to wait here until Daisy goes to bed. Good night. Nothing happened. I waited, and at about 4 o'clock, she came to the window and stood there for a minute and turned on the lights.
You want to get away. It's most certain that they'll trace your car.
Go away now, old sport?
Go to Atlantic City for the week, or up to Montreal.
I can't possibly leave until I know what Daisy's going to do.
12 minutes to my train.
You remember that photo of myself and Dan Cody? Well, I'm from North Dakota. My name is really, or at least legally, James Gatz. I changed my name when I was 17 when I saw Dan Cody's yacht drop anchor over the most insidious flat on Lake Superior. It was James Gatz who had been loafing along that beach that afternoon, but it was already Jay Gatsby who borrowed a rowboat, pulled out to the Tuolumne, and informed Cody that when might catch him, break him up in half an hour. And so I left James Gatz and found Jay Gatsby on the day that Dan Cody's yacht dropped anchor on the shallows along shore. He was about 50 years old then. The transactions in Montana copper that made him many times a millionaire left him with an infinite number of women who tried to separate him from his money. For about 5 years I remained with Cody, Constance's steward, his mate, secretary, skipper, and even jailer. Dan Cody sober knew what lavish doings Dan Cody drunk might be soon about. We circled the continent 3 times. It might have lasted indefinitely if a woman, some Millie Kay, hadn't come on board one night in Boston. And a week later, Cody inhospitably died. Anyways, it was from Cody that I inherited the money. $25,000. I didn't get it. I never understood how or why, but everything went intact to Millie Kay. And I was left instead with Jay Gatsby. I found Daisy to be excitingly desirable. I went to her house once with other officers, and then I began to go alone. And no matter how often I visited or how close we got, I knew I was at her house by a colossal accident. So I took what I could get, ravenously, unscrupulously. Eventually, I even took Daisy once the October night. I took her because I had no real right to even touch her hand. I can't describe to you how surprised I was to find out that I loved her, old sport. I even hoped for a while that she'd throw me over, but she didn't. Because she was in love with me too. I ended up doing extraordinarily well in the war. After the armistice, I tried frantically to get home, but some misunderstanding or another sent me to Oxford. I became worried. There was a nervous, despairing Daisy's letters. She didn't understand why I couldn't come home. And then she met Tom. Her letters reached me while I was still at Oxford. You must remember, old sport, I don't think she ever loved him. She was very excited this afternoon, and he told her those things in a way that frightened her. made it look as if I was just some cheap shot. And as a result, she hardly knew what she was saying. Sure, she might have loved him just for a minute, and loved me more then. Do you see? In any case, it was just personal.
I'm going to drain the pool today, Mr. Gatsby. The leaves will start falling soon, and there's always trouble with the pipes.
Don't do it today. You know, I haven't used the pool all summer.
I'll call you up.
Duo sport.
I'll call you out, dude.
I suppose Daisy will call too.
I suppose so.
Oh. Goodbye.
They're a rotten crowd. You're worth the whole damn bunch put together. You got a church you go to, George? Even when you haven't been to in a long time? Maybe you can call them up, get them to come over and talk to you?
Don't belong to any.
Gotta have a church, George, for times like these. You gotta have been to church once. Didn't you get married in the church, George? George, listen, didn't you get married in a church?
That was a long time ago. Look in the box there.
Which one?
That box, that one.
This?
I found it yesterday afternoon. She tried to tell me about it, but I knew it was something funny.
It's a dog leash, George.
She had it wrapped in tissue paper on her bureau.
I don't see anything wrong with that. It could have been a gift from her sister.
Shut up.
A gift
Shut
for
up.
her sister. Something to have. Look
Shut up.
maybe an
Shut
art
up.
piece.
Shut up. And then he killed her.
Who did?
I have a way of finding out.
That's morbid, George. This has been a strange year.
He murdered
Parents,
her.
be quiet. It was an accident, George.
I know. I'm one of those trusting fellas, and I don't think any harm to nobody, but when I get to know a thing, I know it. It was the man in that car. She ran out to speak to him, and he wouldn't stop.
How could she have been like that?
She's a deep one.
Maybe you've got a friend or something, someone I can call. Anyone?
I spoke to her. I told her that she might fool me, but she couldn't fool God. I took her to the window and I said, God knows what you've been doing. Everything you've been doing. You might fool me, but you can't fool God. God sees everything.
That's an advertisement.
God sees everything.
If anyone phones, bring word out to me by the pool. And don't take the car out under any circumstance.
I remember that day, and that night, and the next, only as an endless drill of police and photographers and newspaper people in and out of Gatsby's front door. I remember a man with a positive expression, perhaps a detective, use the term madman as he bent over Wilson's body that afternoon. So Wilson was reduced to a man deranged by grief, so that the case may remain in its simplest form. And it rested there. I could just hear him in my mind. Look here, old sport. You've got to get someone for me. You've got to try hard. I can't go through with this alone. I called up Daisy about a half hour after we found him. She and Tom left no address, no response, no reference as to where they could be, no notion as to when they'd be back. I called up Wolf about a half hour after we found him. No one answered the phone. I sent him a letter, and this was his response.
Dear Mr. Carraway, this has been one of the most terrible shocks of my life to me. I can hardly believe that it is true at all. Such a mad act this man did. Should make us all think. Anyways, I can't come down now as I have some very important business and can't get wrapped up in all this, but if there's something I can do a little later, send a letter by Edgar. I hardly know where I am at a time like this, and I'm completely knocked down and out. Yours truly, Dave Wolf. Addenda. Send funeral details. Don't know his family at all.
It was on the third day that a telegram signed Henry C. Gatz arrived, saying only that the sender was leaving immediately and to postpone the funeral until he came.
Jimmy had a bright future ahead of him. He was only a young man, but he had a lot of brain power here. If he'd have lived, he'd have been a great man. A man like James J. Hill. He'd have helped build up the country.
That's true. Hello, who is this?
Who are you? Give me your name.
This is Mr. Carraway.
Oh, this is Klipspringer.
The funeral's tomorrow, 3 o'clock at the house. I do hope that you'll tell anyone who'd be interested.
Oh, I will. Although, I'm not likely to see anyone, but if I do...
Surely you'll be there yourself?
I'll certainly try. What I called you up about was a pair of tennis shoes. Would it be too much trouble to have the butler send them over? I left them over at the house, and I'm quite helpless without them. My address is...
The morning of the funeral, I spoke with Gatsby's father. Had you seen him lately?
He'd come to see me 2 years ago and bought me the house I live in today. Look here. It's a book he had when he was a boy. It just shows you. General resolves. No more wasting time at shafters. No more smoking or chewing. Bath every other day. Read one improving book or magazine per week. Save $3 per week. Be better to parents. I come across this book by accident, you know? It just shows you, don't it?
It just shows you.
Jimmy was bound to get ahead.
At around 3, the Lutheran minister arrived from Flushing. So did Gatsby's father. As time went on, the minister began to repeatedly check his watch, so I pulled him aside and told him to wait for half an hour. But it was no use. Nobody came. At around 5, myself, the minister, Mr. Gatz, and the servants arrived at the cemetery. As we started through the gate, I heard the sound of a car stop and someone splashing after us over the soggy ground.
Blessed are the dead that the rain falls on.
Amen to that. I couldn't get to the house.
Neither could anybody else.
My God, they used to go there by the hundreds. The poor son of a bitch.
After Gatsby's death, the East was haunted more, distorted beyond my eyes' power of recognition. So I decided to go home, but there was one more thing to take care of before I left.
I'm engaged now as well. Nevertheless, you did throw me over. You threw me over on the telephone. I don't give a damn about you now. It was a new experience for me, and I felt a little dizzy for a while. Oh, and do you remember a conversation we had once about driving a car?
Why, no, not exactly.
You said a bad driver was only safe until she met another bad driver? Well, I met another bad driver, didn't I? I mean, it was careless of me to make such a wrong guess. I thought you were rather an honest, straightforward person. I thought it was your secret pride.
I'm 30. I'm 5 years too old to lie to myself and call it honor. One afternoon in late October, I saw Tom Buchanan. He told me what he'd done that day, what he told Wilson. I couldn't forgive or like him, but I saw that to him, what he had done was entirely justified. It was all very careless and confused. They were careless people, Tom and Daisy, smashing up things and creatures and retreating back into their wealth or their vast carelessness, or whatever it was that kept them together, and leaving behind a mess for others to clean up. On my last night in the East, I went out and I looked at that huge, incoherent failure of a house once more. I wandered down to the beach and I sprawled out in the sand. As I sat there brooding, I thought of Gatsby's wonder when he first picked out the green light at the end of Daisy's dock. His dream must have seemed so close that he could hardly fail to grasp it. Gatsby believed in the green light, in the orgastic future that year by year recedes before us. It eluded us then, but that's no matter. Tomorrow we will run faster, stretch our arms out farther until one fine morning. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past.